because I don't know exactly where they're going with some of this stuff. But so the opening segment, okay, and this is 4 segments in one in the opening segment. And interesting, we had so AEW has had a couple weeks now where the show is not a complete downward ski slope.
Right.
Okay, so which means it's like there's some interest. But let me see where they pick up again here. So it starts off the typical 6. What was the final number, Joe? By the way,
final number was 659.
650. So right in the middle. So about the same as last week, right? What were they last week? Same thing, right? Last week was 598, right?
Yeah, I think you're. I'll confirm.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over this and keep that up, Joe, because I want to go over these segments.
I just have to find last week's number and I'll put it right back up.
Okay. I think
last week was 594. Yeah, you're on
594. Okay. All right. So they showed all right. So this is interesting. Okay. So the show opens, and they had a video of the Death Riders, and Moxley is cutting his typical promo where he's just rambling about. He says they have the greatest roster of pure talent ever assembled under one roof, but none of these guys could get their acts together when it counts. Now he brought up the Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson returning, said he doesn't recognize them anymore and hasn't in some time, and he said they stumbled on the board and they don't even know what game it is. Moxley said they better be real careful before they make any moves. It's just like, bro, he's cut like the same promo, and it's like if you missed anything and you hear him talking, it's like, what is this guy talking about? You know, it's kind of weird to follow along with his promos because it's just like, you know what he reminds me of? Tell me if you get the same vibe, Konnan. Kind of very Ultimate Warrior-ish in his promos.
I wouldn't go that far.
The Ultimate Warrior kind of like ramble, and you're like, what is he talking about here? I don't.
Warrior was way worse.
Yeah, he was, but it's like, yeah. So they come. So then for some reason, I don't know why they're open after that finish of that match with Swerve. Shibata, they open up with a non-title match with Shibata, and I guess Moxley considers himself kind of like a shooter because they kind of had like a weird shoot style grapple match, like not your traditional wrestling match, and only went 5 minutes, and he choked Shibata out. Before we go to the next, so this is all one continuous segment, by the way. Okay, just before we get to what happens next, what do you think of this weird match, Konnan?
Well, I actually like Shibata, and at least they weren't using weapons and doing unnecessary violence. It was more like a technical match.
All right. You know what would have been more interesting here is if Moxley had cut that promo in the ring,
right?
Okay, and got interrupted by Shibata, who was interrupting him with this phone conversation app thing.
Right.
I thought that would have been like more entertaining. Would you agree with that? That would have been more entertaining. Yeah. So then after this match, okay, the Jacksons, the Young Bucks, come down to the ring and they spoke in the ring. And Nick Jackson said people have been asking why they cost Swerve the championship at Dynasty. And Nicholas said they did it in part for Hangman Page because they still love him. They still knows he loves them. And they had told him because Hangman Page said he was going to make sure that Swerve never became champion again. And he's their friend. So he made it happen. So they made it happen. So they consider what they did for Moxley and the Death Riders as a peace offering. And Matt said they realized they have more in common with the Death Riders than they stink. And he said both sides want the locker room to step up. And they want AEW to be number one. And they want to change the world. The Matt credited Moxley with doing what they couldn't do by winning the AEW title. He pitched the idea of the Death Riders and the Elite working together. About the AEW World Champion working with the Founding Fathers and asked Moxley and his guys to come back out so they could talk business. Okay, because Moxley had exited. So then Kenny Omega, it was kind of funny. So in one of these Meltzer clips of this thing on their YouTube clip when they're talking about this opening segment. More than one person. Now, we're not the only people that talk about Kenny Omega dressing in what I would consider inappropriately for a top guy.
Bro, he came out in shorts. Come on, dude.
A hoodie, shorts, and sneakers with no socks.
Well, would it hurt you just to wear some jeans and a nice shirt? You don't have to come out in a suit, but yeah.
Bro, you literally talk about, that is the epitome of getting out of bed and walking down the driveway to get the paper. Shorts, hoodie, and socks with no shoes. So, Kenny Omega in a very uncomfortable delivered interview. He says, "So you did this all for your friends, huh?" He said they forgot to do him. Omega recalled how they pushed him off a stretcher that was taken to the hospital when he was dealing with his diverticulitis. Omega spoke of trying to bring back the feeling. He told a story of visiting He told a story of visiting a friend who had a pair of Shih Tzu dogs who used to poop on the floor. Omega said he eventually had to ask his friend to hang out at his place because the dog kept pooping on the floor and he wouldn't clean it up. And he said that's what it's like having the Bucks around in AEW. Like they keep pooping on the floor and like then they don't clean it up and they have to like change everything. So it was a weird story. I thought Kenny thought this story would get a bigger pop than it did, and obviously didn't. He recalled the Bucks shredding documents. They said they were tearing up receipts of private jets and the chair they put in their master bedroom that faces the bed. He said it doesn't matter. Meggy said the part that was that it wasn't the Death Riders, it was the Bucks who nearly killed the company that he's given his life, heart, and soul for. Omega said the time off has done the Bucks wonders, and he said Nick looks every bit the 90 pounds he was before he left. He said Mac looks about as red as the lapels on Nick's jacket. Omega said he could go on, and dude, no lie. In parentheses, Jason Powell put, "Please don't." But he'd rather cut out the middleman and make him fight. Omega headed to the ring. Then Okada comes out, and I mean, I don't know what they have backstage, but back at WCW in the makeup room and stuff, they had a steam cleaner, and like the announcers had a steam cleaner. All right, Okada came out in a wrinkled jacket, an outfit it was supposed to look nice, but the thing was all wrinkled. Okay, he made his entrance and joined the Bucks in the ring, so it's going to be 3-on-1. Swerve music plays, and he came out holding with a chair. And the Bucks and Okada saw Swerve coming, and they left the ring. And after Omega made his exit, Swerve said it's by the way, so Kenny and Swerve fist bumped. Kenny left the ring. Swerve says it's buck hunting season, and he's ready to blast off some EVPs. I'm surprised some of the snowflakes didn't mention that, interview, that line, which if it was said on WWE, the snowflakes would say, oh, they're just talking about killing people. So Pac entered the ring and hit Swerve from behind. And the broadcast team wondered if this would lead to their scheduled match as they went to the first commercial break of the show. What did you think of this promo and this interaction with the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Swerve coming out and Pac?
I wasn't a real big fan of this segment. Too many people in there that I wasn't sure why they were in there. Kenny staying with the dog. He probably thought it was over because people started to go Dookie, Dookie. But I did not like that promo. I did not like the way he was dressed. And I didn't notice Shibata's wrinkled shirt. The Bucks, bro, you were out how many months and that's the promo you gave? That wasn't good at all. I thought, wow, they came back at least 10, but then when he said, hey, you're wearing hot stuff, I was like, yeah, he is wearing hot stuff. Well, how hard could it be to get a 10? You live in California and you have a pool. You don't play with your kids in the pool?
It's been cold outside.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can go to a tanning bed. It's 10 minutes. So that kind of has heat with me, but I didn't like any of this. I wouldn't like the Young Bucks with Moxley. I was not a big fan. How about you?
No, like Kenny. This promo, he's not good on the mic. He should be short and sweet, and have somebody else like when Callis was with them.
Right,
is better. So, but he's not.
That was the best.
Bro, he was with Callis. Yep. He does nothing. Like here was a segment. This is his only spot on the show. You're opening up the show with this. Dude, he gave zero vibe as a guy that's a big star. Not like zero, The
opening segment, you want people to think, wow, this is going to be a good show.
Pull up these numbers again. So look at this opening segment. The one like 15, 20-something minutes. And, yeah, just like it worked its way down to like the second lowest thing. Well, not the second lowest, the third lowest thing of the show. Once again, the main event, a huge drop-off in the main event on the show again.
Right, because they don't put stars in the main event.
Right.
I've said it a million times.
I know, it's ridiculous. So then they do Pac and Swerve. So Pac took a buckle bomb in the corner, and when he landed short. I think he hit his heel. He got a stone bruise here because he hurt his leg. Okay, well, watch this. Okay, so he when he landed, his right heel hit real hard. I think that's what hurt. Okay, so during the match, they did the trainer came out and checked on him because he was hurt, and then Swerve goes over, but Pac got hurt a little bit there. So just a win over Pac. That was it. So yeah, I don't know what the purpose of giving Moxley a win over Shibata and Swerve a win over Pac.
Nothing.
Yeah, this is like did nothing. Okay, so these are okay. This to me is funny. Okay, so Ricochet, Leo Rush, and Action Andretti and the Beast Mortis were in a stairwell. There's an 8-man tag match they're having, and it's for $400,000. Okay, so they're talking about so Ricochet took over on the mic here, or took the lead on this, and said they were Team Ricochet, and the others weren't pleased by him claiming to be their leader. Ricochet referred to himself as a captain and did his ha ha laugh. I thought, when we go over this, I want to make a good point. So then they go to Will Ospreay, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Mark Briscoe in a tunnel. And I don't know why they think Mark Briscoe is so good on the mic that he should do most of the talking in these promos. I mean, the kind of it's like the same promo every time. He's like, it's just it reminds me of it's like Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. Like, hey brother, I don't know. It's just like these other guys should be talking. I don't know why Briscoe does all the talking here. And they spoke about what they would do with their $400,000. And so Konnan, what would you do with $400,000? Split it up, $100,000 for each guy. What would you do?
I'd take 200,000.
Oh, you would take and give the other guys, tell them split the two,
right?
The other two,
right?
So 3 ways, so 160. So the other guys would get 66,
right?
And that would have, would have been a great. This would have been great? The Filthy Animals doing this promo.
Right.
For $400,000. And we're all arguing about a skate. All right, let's do the math here, guys. I get 2, you get 1, you get 80, and you get. They said, no. I get 2. You like we're arguing over who gets the most money. Right. How much funnier would that have been, right?
Yeah, they could have done that too, and it would have been better.
It would have been funny, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So they did a lot of video package on the show, which was a positive. One of the more positive things about the show. They showed Mercedes beating Julia Hart. Mercedes' whole shtick is just a very phony character. Like she talks phony, acts. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. So what do we got here? So Renee Paquette spoke backstage when Hangman Page just happened to storm through, and he blew her off. And then he went into Prince Nana's room and told him to tell Swerve that he wasn't trying to help a dynasty, even though he did help a dynasty. Nana said there was something he's wanted to say to Page for the last year, but Page cut him off and told him he doesn't get that. So Page cut off Nana before he could tell him something that he was wanted to tell him. Okay. Right. Ricochet, Leo Rush, Action Dreading the Beast Mortals make their entrance, and the Ricochet and Andretti have these funny looking jackets on. What are those? They'd spiked jackets. And bro, these are just cartoonish looking cartoon jackets, but I thought they work for them if they're heels. For who? For Ricochet and not Ricochet, for Leo Rush and Action.
Yeah, they're brutal. I'm not a fan, but as a heel, it's good.
Right, exactly. That's what I meant. All right, so this was I want to make a point here about this 8-man tag. Okay, this is just a spot fest. However, this is hysterical too. I don't know if did you watch this match from start to finish, Konnan?
Yes.
Okay. When they are laying things out now, all right, and you get all these indie guys, all these guys are indie guys. I don't care. I don't care what people say. I think Will Ospreay to me is still like an indie guy because he's never been to New York. But they're laying out this match, and you could tell that all the guys that were laying this out had all their spots that they wanted to do. Ricochet was the only one that was laying out spots for him to make it look like he was the focus of the match. Like when they were doing like everything that Ricochet did was like in heelish character. Okay, remember they did that spot where they all squared off and they were like 4-on-4 and they got in the ring like to square off like
right.
Line up.
Yeah, the face
and Ricochet took about 4 or 5 steps back, like he was acting tough, but he was like behind all these guys. Bro, Ricochet did so many little tiny nuanced things in this to try to stick out in this match, and it worked because I was just concentrating on like all these guys were just doing all these spots all over the place. I was concentrating on what Ricochet was doing the whole time because he was doing like sneaky stuff, he
was doing character development,
getting himself over. Like he was out, and he didn't do a million things. He let all. The funniest thing was
because he understands. He understands being in WWE. You don't have to.
Exactly. He let all the other guys do all the crazy. He had a couple moves, and then did everything else was heel and running. It was good stuff. So he knows what he's doing right now, and he's getting over. So I want to read you Pal's POV on this. So the babyface is one. This is Pal's POV. Perhaps I'm in the minority, but the financial prize actually lowered my interest level in this match. It seems absurd that a promoter would randomly put $400,000 on the line for an 8-man tag match. Submit your own Tony Khan jokes here, and I don't think anyone over the age of 8 thinks wrestlers actually get that prize money. That said, The match is the big spot fest that one would expect. What did you think of this?
I agree with what Jason said. 400,000. Why isn't it more? You know,
4 million.
Right.
These guys are out there for that.
Right. Either way, they're not getting it. So.
Right. Yeah. So they showed the recap of the Cash and Dax turning on Copeland. Good. Actually, good. Well done video. And they go to the announcers that said Copeland is out indefinitely, and Schiavone said he's seen a lot of despicable things during his career, but this was the pinnacle of them all. He also assumed that even Harwood's daughter is disappointed in her father. That actually was one of Tony's better lines in a while. So the Hurt Syndicate comes out for celebration of returning the AEW Tag Team titles at Dynasty. Then footage aired of their win. So they're showing thank God they're showing footage of everything, so people are catching up. Oh, by the way, pull the numbers up again, Joe. So at the 9 o'clock hour, they had the finish of the 8-man tag, but the 8-man tag kind of didn't really. I don't know. I guess the match maybe drew a little bit, but at the 9 o'clock hour, we always get the change, the new channel seekers. So that's kind of weird. And this is also the Hurt Syndicate, which is the second highest segment on the show. The Hurt Syndicate, no, third highest quarter. 698 second, 692 is the sixth. And 688 is this one. So MVP comes out, and he said, "Don't know if the fans have heard. We hurt people." Then MJF came out and said Tony Khan wanted him to be in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Then MVP mocked the idea of sweating his every week, and he said he gets to cut the line to get back to the AEW Championship. Then MJF asked how the initiation works, because he thinks he's been getting initiated into the Hurt business.
Right.
Lashley told him to shut his mouth. And Lashley said he didn't see what MJF did initially, and Lashley said it was cute that MVP tried to help, but he didn't get the job done. And Lashley said it's another reason why they don't need him. Then MJF told Lashley not to point at him. I like how MJF doesn't back down from these guys.
Right.
He acts like a tough, like Long Island kid, that because that's what kids if they grow up on Long Island, you fight. There's a lot of fights on the island, right? A lot of high schools fight each other. It's a lot of fighting. So they drawed back and forth until Benjamin and MVP intervened. MVP said MJF needs 3 thumbs up to get in the group. Okay? So MVP gave a thumbs up, and then they go to Benjamin, and then he gave a thumbs in the middle, and a thumbs down, so they didn't even get to the third thumb, and the MJF was kind of like disappointed. Lashley thanked Benjamin, then exited the ring. Then MVP walked up to MJF and shrugged his shoulders before leaving. Then they showed the out on this was MJF. They showed his facials, and he was acting like he was kind of getting these guys, like he was thinking of something dastardly that was going to happen. I don't know who the heel is here. Who's the heel? Who are the heels? Who's the heels in this?
Not really anybody. They're both kind of baby faces.
Right, because the thing is, the Hurt business is kind of like baby. They're nobody's booing them,
right?
Okay, and they're still doing the thing where like they have the heel comes out, and he's outnumbered by the baby faces. So it looks like okay. I guess
I think MJF is the heel in this.
I guess, but then it's like he's like 1-on-3, like standing up to these guys, like not like backing down from like
Right.
I don't know. That's so.
I think it's a good idea though, because if they have a few vignettes of MJF trying to get into the group, and there's hazing, and there's things they make him do, or whatever, they could probably come up with some good stuff for that.
Right. So what do we got here? Next, Renee Paquette interviewed Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. So I guess Megan, I haven't heard Megan Bain say anything yet until this. Ford did all the talking, and then she cut off Renee Paquette, did all the talking, and spoke about Storm's flukery win until Bain put her hand up and said, "I will make you bow down." Konnan, what did you think of this interview?
Brutal.
I will make you bow down. So we have an Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament quarterfinal match. Thunder Rosa versus Chris Statlander. Is Thunder Rosa Latina?
Yeah.
Okay, so who would you guess was going to win this match?
Megan Bain. Oh no, Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander.
Right, because what is the record? Okay, so what are the 2 things you can be assured of in AEW? If a little guy is wrestling one of the big guys, who's going to win?
Right, the little guy.
Okay, and if a Mexican wrestler is going to wrestle against any other nationality, who's going to win?
Well, they'll lose against the top people.
Right.
Yeah.
So Storm was out here on commentary, so I don't know why she was on commentary during this.
Well, she was actually funny.
She was funny because she knows what she's doing, because she this is her only spot on the show. I'm going to go out there and get over and steal it, right? So she was entertaining, but I don't like her beef is with the other girl. Why was she sitting in on this match? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too critical, but whatever. So the winner faces the Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks match. You excited about that?
No.
Who's your pick for that? Billy Starks versus Jamie Hayter?
Hayter.
All right. So Don Callis delivered a promo while Kyle Fletcher Kaneshka stood by, and Callis spoke about how it looked like his two men will meet in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament finals. Callis said due to the rash of injuries, they are now accepting applications for new members in the Callis family, and he told potential prospects to send their resume, picture, and bank. This is funny. And bank account number. He said Fletcher to catch and prove that being in the faction means a straight to the top. Very kind of a little bit homoerotic in this interview too, the way he was talking about the two guys. Do you agree?
Yeah, the two guys
are
hot. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had their shirts off. It looked like or he had the jacked arms with the oil on him. Fletcher didn't just catching his shirt off. So yeah. So I know that this is an angle that you like very much. So we'll get to this here. TNT champion Adam Cole delivered a backstage promo with Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. Strong said it's about time that he and O'Reilly have their moment. Cole said they will. He spoke about how he's been through hell and back over the last 2 years, and he said it's just a start for him, O'Reilly, and Strong, and said they are the paragon, and that's undisputed.
Cole is a great example of somebody that came in with a lot of fanfare, and they were treating him like a top guy, and now look at him now.
Dude, this is pretty funny if you think about it. Bro, these guys were booked so much better in NXT.
Oh, 100%.
They're completely devalued here. They're another kind of like simps, I don't know. It's like,
you can say that for 80% of the company, Disco.
Right. So Christian, okay. Oh, by the way, I didn't see the rest of the show, so I'm going to read this. Okay, here we go. So Chris Jericho comes out and said, and they had this segment called TV Time. He referred himself as a legendary Chris Jericho. I thought that was funny. Said he's no longer the Ring of Honor champion. Spoke about Bandito's intrusive family and his stooge mother. Said Bandito has his family and he has his. Then Big Bill and Brian Keith were introduced and the duo joined them in the ring, and Jericho said he was hoping that all three of them would have championships. He said he hoped they would win the AEW tag team titles, but they didn't do it. Then Bill lowered the mic away from Jericho's mouth, and Bill got a different mic and said he knew Jericho was going to say he was angry. Bill said he has every right to be. He said he's also angry. Then Keith tried to talk to Bill, who said Keith knows Jericho needed to hear what he had to say because they'd already spoken about it. Then Bill sang Jericho's praises and said he wanted to join the learning tree to learn from him. And Bill said he didn't sign up to be Jericho's punching bag whenever things go wrong. And Bill said if Jericho had them out there to teach him something, that he could go ahead and teach. Bill said if Jericho was going to berate and publicly humiliate them, that Jericho should let them know so he can leave. Bill said he knows that Keith feels the same way. Then Jericho got in Keith's face and asked, "Do you?" Jericho said that's not why he brought either one of them out there, and if they believed that, then they have more to learn than he thought. He said he believed in them and wanted them to win the AEW tag team titles. Jericho said he handpicked them and he doesn't have to teach anyone in AEW if he doesn't want to. He said their victories are his victories and their failures are his failures. He said he needed them at Dynasty and they weren't there, and some might say it's your fault that I lost that match. But I'm not saying that because I don't believe it at all. I'm not angry, just disappointed. So Jericho struck the TV, this part of their set, with the bat several times while repeating that he's disappointed. Then he got censored. And the broadcast team apologized for whatever Jericho said. One of them added that he'd gone bye-bye. Jericho said that until they change, he thinks it's best that he leaves. And Jericho exited the ring while the crowd sang the goodbye song. And Jericho grabbed a pen from the kid in the front row and then looked at the camera and smiled while signing the kid's sign, and then headed backstage while Bill and Keith were still in the ring. What did you think of this segment? It sounded like it was actually pretty entertaining. I
didn't like it because I don't believe in Big Bill and the other guy. They come up as total J-Brons. If they separate and Bill and the other guy go on to prominence, which I doubt, but you never know. I did like that Chris said something like, "Yeah, I might have to go away. Yes, you should go away for a while, and and come back with a new perspective." Kind of, he said.
Yeah, on the 17th, Fozzy starts touring every day through the rest of April. And then a lot of days in May. The tour goes till May 12th, so maybe he's off TV for a month.
Joe, do this. Pull up this next segment with Lexi Nair with the Hurt segment with MVP and MJF and stuff. Lexi Nair spoke with the Hurt Syndicate, and Lashley said he doesn't like MJF and they don't need him. Benjamin said he's right. They don't need anybody. And Benjamin had that little George Costanza that's kind of funny. Lashley wasn't pleased and walked away, and Benjamin told MVP he'd go talk to Lashley. Then MJF entered the room, told Nair that it was an A-B conversation, told her to get her out of there. And I guess he slapped her on the left. MJF asked MVP if he looks like a female dog. MVP said no. Then MJF asked why he keeps getting treated like a punk and asked if the other two know who he is. MVP said that that's the problem. They know exactly who MJF is. His reputation precedes him. MVP said they're businessmen. He said you find out what the consumer wants and then you give it to him. I want to see this segment, by the way.
Yeah, it's cool.
You have it?
Coming up right now.
It's a good segment.
Guys, I'm here with the Hurt Syndicate. Now, over the last few weeks, we've seen some interesting interactions with MJF. So where do things go from here?
Why are we talking about MJF? Yeah, everybody knows MJF is not to be trusted. And then after what he said out there tonight, listen, I don't like him. And we don't need him.
You're right. We don't need anybody. But little George Costanza is kind of funny. I'm gonna talk to him. Talk to him.
Look, right now we're trying to. Come in. Excuse me.
Honey, this is a A-B conversation, so why don't you see you little here? Bye-bye. Catch you around. I'm so sorry you had to see that, Montel. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little bit perturbed, okay? Can I ask you a question, plain and simple?
Sure, go ahead.
Do I look like a female dog to you, Montel?
No, Max, what's your point?
My point is, then why do I keep getting treated like some punk? Okay? Do these guys not know who I am, Montel? I'm MJF, okay?
That's the problem. They know exactly who you are. Your reputation precedes you. Now, this is business. We're businessmen. In the world of business, you get your consumer, you find out what they want, and you give it to them.
MJF is a good actor. Like every segment he's in is really good. So they showed Jericho walking out of the building. He stopped and used his baseball bat to strike a tray with soda on it. And he got in the passenger seat of a black SUV with AEW plates and drove away. Big match here for the main event. Claudio and Wheeler Yuta against Samoa Joe and Hook. And the finish of this is Moxley came out and distracted the ref. Shibata ran out and put Moxley in submission. Joe put Cassioli's submission on the floor. And in the ring, Hook put Yuta in the red room and submitted. After the match, Joe and Hook were in the ring celebrating when Marina Shafir entered and jabbed a chair into the back of Joe's knee. Cassioli set a chair on its side and they gave Hook a neutralizer on top of it. The Death Riders made their exit once Joe returned to the ring with the chair. Joe called the Death Riders cowardly and said they came to Baltimore to get into a fist fight. And he got censored. And then he called for the Ops versus the Death Riders and said they were coming for the Trios titles. Excited about that now, Konnan?
Not at all.
All right. So what did you think? The follow-up. By the way, let me give you Palace POV before we discuss. I couldn't care less about the AEW Trios title, so the final line was a groaner as far as I'm concerned. The main event was a solid match, but it felt out of place in the main event. Joe and Hook are over, but it feels like Shibata is just along for the ride. The Death Riders continue to be a turnoff, and they can't get the title off Moxley soon enough, but I don't think that will happen until All In Texas. Overall, a flat follow-up to the Dynasty show. I have more to say about it later. What did you think of the show?
I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on them, but they'd been having good shows lately, and I didn't think this was one of them. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? I just want to thank you guys for watching this clip. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And join our YouTube membership for hours and hours of exclusive, unedited, uncensored content. And being a member will help you get involved in our upcoming live streams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for riding with us. I know you got a lot of other podcast choices, be it wrestling or other ones. And thank you for picking us. Boom.